Go ahead when you're ready.
ABS production, scene 4, take 1.
Welcome everyone to ABAS Seasonal Bonsai Series. We're in the month of May, the middle of May, and this is prime time for working on deciduous trees. So this program is going to be focused on the Trident maples, but before we get started on the Tridents, we will take a look at the Shimpakus just to kind of get an update on where they are and what has been happening with them for the last couple of months.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at the Shimpaku junipers just to see what they've been doing for the last couple of months. And basically, they've just been fertilized and they're growing. Our little guy that we're starting as a cutting, you can see I put some wire on it when I repotted it, and this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I twisted this a little bit too much and cracked it and broke it, so this is not going to be playing into any kind of design for the future, but we're just going to keep letting these grow. These have been fertilized with Osmocote. We're just going to let them keep growing. This is our pre-bonsai material. We repotted it in February and fertilized it with Osmocote, and as you can see, it's really starting to go nice and strong. It's got some nice runners poking out here, so that means it's happy tree, and we can start working on it. Probably in July, we'll come in and start doing some preliminary work with setting up pads and thinning it out and getting it set up for its future as a bonsai. The third one, this was the intermediate. It was a little bit weak back in February, and so basically we didn't do anything to it. We just fertilized it. We're letting it grow. You can see this one is also getting nice and healthy, spiking out with some nice new growth. So in July, we're also going to come in and start refining pads on this tree. The fourth tree is our more developed bonsai, and this one is we're just letting it grow right now. This one had been set up, pruned back pretty heavily, setting up for pad development. It's growing, but it's not growing as aggressively as these because this had a lot more work done to it back in the fall and early winter. So it's still growing. We're going to let it continue to grow until July, and then we'll come back in and take a look and see what we need to do to continue development. So with that, we'll turn it over to Carmen and her Trident maples.
Okay, you may go.
Here are our 4 Tridents, and all lined up so you can see them and compare them. We repotted all of these in January. So at that level, they're the same. But you can see each one is different and reacted differently. And this is what you need to be aware of when somebody says, it's May, you defoliate and you work on your Tridents. Each one of these is going to be worked on differently. And you can see the difference. So brief explanation. This is really new. We're letting this grow out. This has a long way to go, so not much is going to be done. We're going to do some, very little. This one was super strong in January. We cut everything back, and look, super strong again. It had so much energy, it just pumped out. So a lot of this is going to be changed to get this to go out where we want it to go. There's too much up here. So that's how you deal with something that's blown out to get it back to something that we want. This one, remember, was very weak. So it's growing, still teeny tiny leaves. We did a whole lot to the roots on that. So now we have to be more aware. We're going to evaluate this a little further. This is not going to be treated like the other one. So a little bit more cautious. This is the very ramified tree. And look, totally different way it's grown out. So since it's ramified, this is going to be defoliated, and we'll see what we do, but it's going to be treated differently than the other ones. So be aware of that when you're looking at your trees. What level are they at to decide what you need to do? So remove these weeds and make sure you get every little bit because of all of those seeds. And yeah, back here I have a little succulent. So pull them up and get rid of them. Okay. Just makes life easier. Doesn't take that long. Now we're looking at this tree. The only thing I can decide style-wise is my first branch is probably going to be right here. And if you're thinking, I don't want to wait 10, 20 years for this, maybe I'll turn it into a shohin. It's too late. You're already too late to turn it into a shohin because you'd have to chop it off down here. Might get a bud, might not. But we've built it to this, so now we're committed to this. This is where we're going to go from here. So if it's 3 lengths, it's going to be about this tall when we're done. That's the plan. We'll see what happens. So now we have to look at, it needs to grow like crazy. I've got all of these nice little inner nodes. So my tree is going to start developing here. These two are my blowout branches to grow the trunk. So I am leaving these. So I'm going to get my scissors, but I need to thin this out somewhat. If I left all of these here, this would get thicker. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take out, and I'm going to leave them. I just pulled out something I probably didn't want to. I'm going to pull out that one, and this one back here is also fairly big. So we're pulling off that one. These are across. So I'm going to wire this one out, this one right here, because that would make a good branch right there. I'm going to leave the one in the back just because this could stand to thicken a little bit more. And I think it's going to go really fast, and then we'll go from there. And this one has a fairly short inner node. I kind of like that one. Or I have this one, but this one's already fairly short. I'm going to cut off the one in the front. So I have this one, this one. This could be actually my new trunk. Or I can use this one. Actually, I kind of like this one. This one has a long inner node here, and I've got the short ones. But I kind of like this one because another thing's going to come out of there. That could be a branch if I want to. So let's cut off this one because it's directly across from there. I'm just going to cut it there and see what happens. So when deciding which ones to keep, I cut off the biggest ones. And this one is directly across from there. I don't need these directly across. I will want to use this one because the angle is pretty good. So we're going to come up here. We're going to go to the left. And you want those breaks because it gives interest in the tree. And I have a bigger one right behind it. And the same thing. This will get thicker on its own, and it's already flowing pretty well. So I'm going to cut this one off in the back. And every time I make these cuts, all of these are going to grow faster. All of them. So I have, and there's another little one in the back I'm going to take off. So this is my side branch. This is going to be my new top, probably. This is going to blow out. So I'm going to put a little bit of wire on these, and maybe a back branch back there. And then we'll show you a picture of it when it's done. We've wired the little branches on this. And very lightly, you have to be very careful because but I want this to come down like that. And then since this is kind of new, I'm always going up. The only part that really matters is this first little bit. This is all going to be gone anyway. I want this to become our apex. So I want that to cross over. And what's happening is I'm making an angle that's going off this way. Then I'm making an angle to make it interesting that goes off the other way. And same thing, this doesn't matter that much. It's this right here. So now I'm going here. And this will probably be another branch when this gets cut back. Then we have a back branch back here, and I need to kind of move it away. And I'm just going to move it up like that. So now we have our 3 branches. Things may change because this is still early in the game. I'm going to pull some of these. And these are our 2 sacrifice branches. So you really don't need a lot of leaves at the base of it because it's all happening up on top. So now you can kind of see, yeah, and that should work. Okay. So our second tree that, remember, really aggressive growth, we cut it way back, we sawed off the top, we did some root grafts. The root grafts have taken, which is very nice. So we just let those continue on. It has blown out dramatically, and you can see where we cut off the top. This is already almost sealed. And look how much this has grown. It's grown a lot. Everything really aggressively grown. But we don't want any of this. We need to tamp this down because the April growth on this is going to take over everything. And what we want are these 2, I'm going to turn it so you can see them, the 2 bottom branches. We have a branch there, a branch there. And we have a thickening here, but if I keep this a little bit shorter, I think it's going to be okay. This is the one we want to really grow aggressively. And I don't know what's going to happen with this. We're just going to let it grow for a while. But everything else, I can say, okay, here we go. This is what we don't want. So that's all going to be cut back. So this can be where the growth is. So this was nice when it was there, but it's going to be gone. All right, let's switch this back up here. So everything like this, you've got 2 buds there. You can cut it. Everything is getting cut off. And in fact, this, oh, it's actually coming from there too. We're cutting this all the way off. It's really rough. It actually has some wire cut in it because it grew so fast. Yikes. Oh, there we go. So that's off. And I will seal that. And then we're going to turn around. And here's 2 other wounds that I had. I think I treated these when I first got it last July. They're basically healed. There's a tiny spot there, and I think this is completely healed. So that's how fast we're dealing with this. This comes all the way off. And this is on the borderline of being pretty big branch. So we're going to seriously slow this down. Maybe I'll leave that little bit there. Okay, there's that. There's this. And I have this little guy. Do I care? Do I keep it? I don't think it matters too much, but I'm going to cut it back to 2 leaves. Then we have all of these little guys. And you see there's some yellow leaves because it was so thick that actually some of the under leaves lost. And there's a couple of these, and that just shows how bushy it was. The light wasn't getting down to those. So this is coming off. Sorry, it's hard to see. I'm going to cut that off. That's off.
So why are you cutting the top so?
I'm cutting the top so aggressively. When I say I need to hold it back, I want it to grow out maybe like this. And as these come out, I'm going to be pinching them to slow them down even more. So when it starts growing really slow, it may look like a congested mess, but it's a slow congested mess because it's going to take a while for the other ones to catch up. And I should probably, and I think that's dead. So let's cut that there. Yeah. So the shorter you cut them, what the heck? It doesn't really matter. And you see on this, we cut this right here. Look at all this stuff that came out in just a few months. and the strongest one was on top because of the April growth just shot up like crazy. These are a little bit smaller. So this is a bit much, and doing this and then pinching it is going to slow it down because we're already big enough. We're almost too big. All right, so let's turn it. Cut. Now this one's interesting because this one looks a little bit more, at least has some branching to it. So we're going to cut that. You've got buds all along there, so I can cut that there. This I can cut back. And you'll see what it looks like the next time around. And we will probably defoliate this again. Maybe not cut it quite so aggressively, but do that. Okay, so back over here, I'm working my way down the tree. So now we have this one, same. I can actually cut this. Okay. This gets cut back. Do I care? No. Okay. And it's hard to see. Little guys. Can you see? It's underneath here. So I'm just taking those off. Okay. Now we are down to our two main trunks. We're down to the lower branches, and these are the ones we want to blow out, so we have to make a decision here. And what's happening, this is kind of thins and then comes wide. This is the back. So we have a branch, and we have a branch there. So let's look at it from the front to make our decision. Okay, so if we use this branch and this branch, you have a change in height as opposed to being straight across. If we cut this bigger, thicker branch off, I think we'll have a better look, and it won't make this reverse taper even worse than it already is. We're going to go farther up on the tree. So I think that's what we're going to do. So we are going to see if I can do this in one fell swoop here. Yay.
Okay.
All right, and see already, now this is a little bit better shape, and we have our back branches back there. Not sure what we're going to do with this, but we're leaving it for now. So this makes it a lot easier. This is going to grow out. Do we cut this back? Well, that's dead. Okay, well, let's just take off these back guys because they're not going to, they're just in the way. Actually, these also. Okay, and then those will take off, and this is our branch on that side. This side, I think we can keep that length, and then we can save that. Let's take off these. These are our runners, sacrifice branches going that way. Okay. Yeah. And then this one, I just take it off. And let's take this off. Okay. Ta-da. So then, now that we have this, let's look at it again. We have a problem. I mean, here's our trunk. We're going up. Branches, branches, back branches, and then this. And even though we're going to slow it down, this is going to get thicker. So I think we have a problem here. Since this is almost healed, I think if we take this out, so we have an angle, it's the same thing. It's going to heal in a year. And we might let something here grow a little bit longer just so it happens. But we'll see. Or something up here. We'll see what happens as it blows out, because this is going to go crazy again. So let's cut. Let's slice that off. And then I think we'll be good. All right, we're reevaluating again, thinking either our options are to cut this off like that. So we have that coming up. But we're worried about what is something going to pop out like that? We don't have anything and we need something there. We could thread graft, but thinking the way this grew so aggressively, that's why that is so thick. So if we cut just this branch and leave these three little guys, I think that might help. And as this grows, this whole thing's going to get thicker. So we're going to start with this. And maybe a year from now, no, it wasn't enough, and then do the cut. So go for it, Renee.
Oh, okay. Let us
Cut.
cut this off.
Whee! I have a concave.
Concave.
Okay.
Oops. Okay.
Okay. And then I can concave it a little bit because they're pretty aggressive healing. And this is going to heal real fast because we've got this right above it. That's the other positive. So that's fairly smooth. We'll seal that. Does this one need to be? I'm going to do this one a little bit with the concave. It's a little rough. You can see how it's rough. Depends on how sharp your tool is, but this is a much smoother, a nicer cut. So we'll seal all those up. Same thing like this. You want to look at it from the front. This is the front. Is this yours? Okay. Mine's almost empty. I'm sitting here with a spatula trying to get the stuff out of it.
That should work pretty good.
Yeah. Since I'm here. Okay, turn. Oops.
Oops.
Where is it? Oh, I couldn't see. It's this covering it up. Almost couldn't see it. Nice and thick. Make sure you get every edge. Is that good? That looks good. Oh, I think I have that little guy right there. You know, I'm going to hit this one too. The little tiny ones you don't really care about that much, but the big ones, it's nice to seal those. Now that we've got this set up, the last thing we knew, we've got these, we need to wire this to get it to where we want it to be. Probably about like that. All right. We've wired out our two critical sacrifice branches, one on each side. I put an extra wire on this one because the way this is going, I want to move this ever so slightly forward without it breaking. Okay, like that. And the rest of this really doesn't matter. It's going up. So it's not like this is ever going to be anything. The only important part is this right here. A little bit more there. And then this one, actually that's about right. Just put a bend in it, but the same thing. It's not going to matter too much. These wires are going to dig in really fast because this is where all the growth is going to be. So a couple of weeks, even a month, it'll be ready to take off. So here we have the front. It looks better. We'll see what happens with this if we need to go farther back. And because we've thinned this out, I'm hoping, oh, I have to seal that wound, that this won't get too much worse. We're at a different level now, so it shouldn't get a whole lot worse for that. And that will continue to heal up on top. And we'll revisit it in about 2 months. As this buds out, I'm going to pinch it.
Okay, go ahead, go.
All right, here's Challenger. And it's growing, so that's excellent. These are our root grafts. I'm going to cut off the connection that was holding them up so while I'm working on it so I can talk about it and you can see and I can see. Would be helpful. Okay. All right. So it's growing and you see how small all of these leaves are, and then when it really started taking off, here we go. Bigger leaves. but still has small internodes, and compared to the other trees, this is still pretty small, but the red means that it's growing happily. It's healthy out here. So you would think, oh good, it's healthy out there. I can cut all of these off, but we have to evaluate the whole tree. And remember, we just decimated the roots. So what's happening here, this has died, and I don't know why this happened. This was growing, and it died. So all that's coming out is this little end right there. So something is weak in there. This is pretty weak in through here. But the really telling story, this died. I mean, you had a couple of leaves and this died. This back here is dead. And that's from this branch right here, which is being fed by these two. And I kind of really want to have, I need this and I need this. So that means, that tells me maybe not get too aggressive, because the plan was to cut all of these way back and have it bud out, or to do thread grafts. And I think we're going to pause and leave it alone for another month or two. Since it's growing happily, we're going to let it keep growing happily. Obviously, it's having a little problem with the roots somewhere around here. The only roots we replaced were in the back. These are where these went in. So it's back here, there's growing roots. This front is still pretty weak, which is probably why that died, because we cut this back very, very aggressively. So let's give it a little bit more time. Because now you see how this is completely different than the other trees. The one thing we can do, I'm going to let these pop up, to the backside, what we do need to do, and one of the reasons we're having a problem is because of the wound. That huge wound. And it really, you don't see where it's changed very much. We're going to retreat this, carve this back, carve this down a little bit, and hopefully, because we will reactivate the cambium, this is going to start healing a little bit better, because that has to happen too. So it's both things. By letting that grow out, this is going to heal a little bit better, but we need to set it up for healing. So first things first. All right. Let's see. I'm going to cut back. Here we go. We're going to cut it back. Dead. And I think so. It's dead. How far back do I want to go? Well, why not?
Well, if it's dead, probably all the way.
Yeah, if it's dead. Yeah. Oh, but there's a little live. Okay, so we'll go one more. Doesn't look great. What do you think? I don't think it's alive. Not alive enough. All right. See, this side is alive. This side is dead, which is kind of scary because it means that it might go into that big dead. One more on that. I don't really want the lip there. There, okay. So, but this is alive. If we came through and did a thread graft coming up through here, or even lower down right here, I think that would help. This thing is so weak, it's worth a shot to see if we can help this out. We also have, okay, I'm going to also cut this. This is, I believe, dead. So, what the hell? Dead. And, well, here we go. This is dead. So this is going to have to run into that whole, that's alive, I think. So I'm going to have to heal this, although if we thread graft through here, this is probably eventually going to be replaced because it's really heavy. So it's not critical that we seal this and work on that. What's critical is we get this happening up here, actually. So we're going to do a thread graft right here. And then maybe this whole thing will come off. But in the meantime, we have to leave these two. All right, so one more while we're doing Deadwood. We got one more over here. But this is alive. We're talking barely alive. So let's see what we have. I mean, it looks like it's got to be dead. And you say, well, why don't you leave it? I go, well, it's distracting. And then you're wondering, when did that die? And did I do something? Oh, one of those little red spiders just crawled around. There it goes. It's coming back. Okay, there's alive right there. So clean that up a little. And the sooner you seal it, the sooner it gets healed. Eek. Okay. All right. So this is really important to have this. I might as well cut this off too, because I don't want to not remember where that came from and when that died. And we have another wound also right here. And that one is healing, but we can also work on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This one we don't care about. This is all going to get cut off. So one other thing I wanted to say, since we have it here, and this is the apex. And if you're kind of a beginner, and I looked at this too and go, wow, it's like a multi-trunk, and all you have to do is go, and this is your tree. But it's really funky. It all needs to be brought down farther, and this would look odd the way these are growing. You're really better off starting fresh. And you've got this big, almost a curve, like not quite a circle, but a horseshoe. That's really distracting. No matter where it is, it's very distracting. This is not the kind of structure you want in your bonsai. Even though it would be tempting, wow, it's already got small leaves. Oh, wow, it's ramified. All I have to do is cut all that off. There's a lot more going on here. And you might as well correct it early on. Anything else, Renee?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so thread graft, correct the wounds, and leave everything else for at least a month or two. All right, here's our wound. And to know what's happening, we're going to have to dive in. So I usually use, oh, see? Yeah. All right. So we have healed a little bit. Yay. Because it went from out here and now it's gone in that far. That's not bad. So to work on a wound to help it heal, I'm going to go find the live. There we go. All the way around. And a little bit, I mean, you really want to, don't miss any nooks and crannies because it's kind of important to have it all the way around, even if it's uneven. Okay. You can see the pale line that goes all of the way around this. That's the lifeline. That's now scarred. This is going to activate it. And it had come in a little bit because the last one was out here. So we've got that all the way around, and now we need to carve this down because I don't want this to hump over and be even more obvious. I want it to cave in. So I'm going to use the Dremel, and we're going to work on that. And let's see how this works. Both hands. Both hands. And I'm going right up to the edge of the some of it comes up really easy, but some of it was starting to rot. So that's the other reason this is a good thing to do. Okay, let's turn around the other side. Then I could probably use my bigger guy. And just smooth that off a little bit. I just can't quite tell. Yeah, that's not bad. I think I'm good. What do you think, Renee?
That looks pretty good.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Huh?
looks great.
And I'm going to turn this because we have, oh, sorry, Renee. Ah, where's our other one? Oh, right here. Okay. One more right there. And I did the same thing. I cleaned around the outside, but I need to make that concave. And I hope this is easier. And so the angles are a little tricky. This is newer. It has not rotted at all. So I think I'm going to be okay with that the way it is. So we're going to seal the edges. I start from the outside, put a ring around it, and then fill. As long as you get it done. Oops, there's a little bit right there. Is that done, Renee? Can you see the top? I can't see the top.
It looks like it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good.
All right, and the same thing, ready? All right, we have going to do a thread graft. I've done a pilot hole right here. It was there. We had to move it out because there's a branch back there, so I had to be clear through. This is coming from all the way back around. We're going to use this for our thread graft. Now I've got to do my final hole, and I have to be able to thread. There's buds on both sides. They're opposite, so I have to make sure it's wide enough for both of them. This one kind of would work, but it's borderline. If I rub those buds off, they're gone. So this one's bigger, so I'm going to go with that one. Well, actually, we're going to just cut. No. Okay, cut off the leaves. That's the other reason it has to be the bigger one, because all this has to thread through. But it gets really wimpy out here towards the end. I'm going to cut this off like that because it tends to get crushed. Oh, come back. So these all need to be cut back because you want them to go through. And I really don't care if some of these rub off, as long as this works. All right, and now we're going to drill our second hole. Yeah. So same angle. I already have the pilot hole. This should go through. It should track it.
Just it's good.
Okay. How off is it?
Not too far. A little bit.
Not
bad.
Okay.
Not bad.
Okay, go ahead.
Our last tree is our most ramified tree that's farthest along. We are going to defoliate basically every leaf, defoliate, to see if we need to thread graft, and if not, these get cut off also. and then see if there's anything we need to cut. You can't tell until you find out what's going on inside. So Renee and I are going to do that right now.
I can't do nothing with you. I can't do nothing with you.
Okay, so now that we've defoliated this trident and we can see into the structure of the tree, now we can kind of assess what we need to do to continue the development. The first thing we're going to do, since there's really no place we need a thread graft in here, and number two, these really aren't quite long enough for thread grafts, we're going to go through and cut off all the extensions and cut back on the extensions. Then we're looking at the top. It looks like the top is getting a little bit heavy and thick in here, so we're going to come in and take out some of the thickness in the top so it doesn't continue to get too heavy and thick looking up there. We don't want that. We're going to keep the same height. We're just going to thin it out a bit. Oops. Wow. You can see it from that, yeah. So we've kind of cleaned up the profile, cut back the long extensions. Now we're going to take a closer look at it and evaluate the fine pruning that we're going to need to do, the cutting back, and then the thinning. So we've defoliated, now we are cutting back, and then we're going to thin if there's something inside that needs to be thinned out. The one thing that I want to say is I want to take a look at this branch. When we looked at this 2 months ago, this was a very tiny little bud that had budded out. It was very thin, very weak. So we let it grow so it would get stronger so we could wire it and wouldn't damage it. Well, with all the foliage on it, and we couldn't really see this, it really grew and it got almost too heavy. So it's actually too heavy. We're going to have to cut this way back again and get it to bud out again and get some extensions here that we can wire and put some movement in. So this was something that kind of slipped by us. Not something that I, that I recommend, something you need to watch for that we missed. So we're going to cut this back and hope that it buds out again. Okay, so we're going to go in and just thin out some of these huge branches on top here to kind of thin it out. We have some little back buds there, so I'm going to take off this one. It's got a whole bunch of growth on the end of it. It's kind of ugly. So we're going to cut this off, thin that out. We have another thing here, this big extension that came over in this direction. I'm just going to go ahead and take that out, thin that up a bit, rotate it around. This part right here is getting kind of ugly and thickened, so I can't really cut it all the way back just yet. I'm going to cut it partially back and let some of these smaller buds back inside grow. So I'm just going to take it off back to there. Let's see where else. So there we go. That looks a little bit better. This one here is also getting very heavy. So we got to take something off of that to make it look a little lighter, to lighten it.
Below or above? Does it make any difference? Because you get the lower part pointing down the upper part.
I'm going to take off the lower part. Yeah, because I want it to kind of go up and out. What's this?
Extra for you to.
Oh.
I see a couple of dead leaves.
The dead leaves, well, that was because, you saw how full the canopy on this was. It was pretty full. That's why you have to defoliate, because the little stuff back inside will die back. And that's what these dead leaves are. They're some of the little buds back in here that have died back because they weren't getting any sunlight. Everything else was growing really strong on the outside, so the inside starts to die back. That's why it's real important to defoliate and get light back inside so it will activate the little buds back in there and won't let them die off. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm leaving some of the buds on the base of that. There's a couple little buds there we're going to save. We cut that one back. So let's go down, systematically go down the tree and see if there's any heaviness we need to start addressing. Like right in here, this is getting very heavy in here. So I would like to take something out. I think I'll take this down here off. And I think I'll take this up here off. Take this back. Maybe even take it all the way back to there. There's some buds at the base. Those should bud out. Take this back a little bit. See, this has got 3 things coming out. That's going to get really heavy really fast. So I'm going to take this center piece out. We have this kind of going off in a weird direction. I'll take that off. Give it a little movement to the branch. Let's see what's going on in here. I'm going to take this off, take that back a little ways. Back a little ways. This is getting awfully heavy as well. As I cut, I want to maintain the outer profile of the tree. Anything that's back inside is a danger of dying off. So I want to try and maintain a nice profile for the tree, so that all of the growth is on the outside where it's getting sunshine, getting light. See, this branch here is a thread graft that I did. Unfortunately, we didn't get any buds popping back closer to the trunk, and it's kind of long and straight. However, luckily, it is coming out straight at you in the front of the tree, so it's not, you can't see it. You can't see that ugly straight part of it, so we're just going to work with it. We're going to try and make it look better. Need to put a piece of wire. It looks like this little guy here. We're going to put a little piece of wire and kind of redirect that, fill this space up in here. Put a piece of wire on that. Just going to cut these guys back. Just cut that off. And we're going to wire this up and to kind of fill this area right in here. Let's see, moving around the tree, looking at the profile. Cut that back. Here, cut that back, cut that back. Painting the profile. Anything I need to take out? Oh, this looks like it died. Yep. Well, there we go. We lost this little branch in here. I don't know, is that dead? Yeah, that looks dead too. That whole branch died for whatever reason. I don't know. But we have a little bud right here. Hopefully he will continue to develop. Cut that off. Profile. Any other cutbacks? Thinning. And what the thinning, the cutbacks are doing, where I'm cutting back, that's how you get ramification. So at each point, where I cut back to, that's where it's going to divide. So if I want the tree to divide here, where I have this little bud, I need to cut back to that bud. If I want it to bud here, I cut back to that bud. That's where you're developing ramification. So each time you make a cut, that's how you force it to divide. Okay.
So would you want to cut back further on that so it would divide sooner? Or not necessarily?
Well, yes, you could cut back a little bit farther.
So it's not the defoliation that
It's
makes it ramify.
No, it's not defoliation that makes it ramify. If you defoliate it and don't do anything, you'll just get a bunch of leaves back. It's the cutting it back that makes it divide, and the thinning that makes areas get stronger that are weaker. Can you see anything from there, Carmen, that needs to be? See, this branch is really thick. I'd like to get rid of that whole branch, but if I do that, then I'll have to do a thread graft. So at some point in the future, this branch is really heavy. At some point in the future, maybe when we get another extension, I might consider taking this whole thing off because it's very heavy and maybe doing another thread graft in here. Okay, so we're taking out some of the heavier, thicker stuff and encouraging some of the smaller things to develop ramification. So I'm looking at this area. I have this thick piece that's coming off the bottom here. It's shading this a little bit down this branch. So we're going to take this bottom section out, all of it. Take it all out. Cut it back, and now it's just going to give a nicer, more beautiful, branching, and once it buds out again and you get these things, the little stuff at the ends budding out, it's just going to be a much prettier branch. So we're taking that out. This is going to grow and fill in. So we're moving around and looking at this branch. Is there anything here we can take off? Probably not. I could take this back just a little bit. Take that back. Take this back a bit. And moving around. So we're down to here. This we're going to have to put a little piece of wire on. This is kind of going in a weird direction. So we're going to have to wire some of the smaller branches and get them positioned, put them in a better position. This branch looks like it's kind of okay. There's a little heavy piece going off in that direction. I might just take a little piece of that off.
It is dipping down pretty aggressively when all the other branches are going flatter out.
Well, I know. I'm going to let these guys grow a little bit more before I take that all the way off. I'm going to take this off today.
No, I'm talking about the branch below it. The branch below it. To your left.
Well, I want to stay on this branch right now.
I am on this branch. So I'm talking about this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
It needs 3 dimensions. You don't want deciduous trees. You don't want, like flat planes. You want ups and downs and, like 3-dimensional stuff.
That's right. You have one over here.
So moving around. I think I'm going to just leave this one like this for now. I might take this little piece off right there. Moving around. Take this off. The back bud there. This is getting a little heavy and long. Anywhere we could cut back in here to make this a little bit better. I'm going to just take these back for now. Just going to cut it back for now. Coming out here. I'm going to cut this back to here because this is a weird angle. Take that out before it gets any worse, creates any more problems. Got the little knobby things off. Okay. I'm going to have to put a little bit of wire on some of these to just reposition them. Not a very attractive branch, but if we got this back in here, hopefully this will continue to grow and we can eventually take that out of there. Okay. That's off. Take this back in here. This one is this is the problem one here. Okay, moving around this way, I'm looking right in here. We got this thick piece on top. I'm going to take this off because we got this smaller piece underneath with some branching on it. So I'm just going to take that off. Moving around, this little guy is kind of weak, so we're going to wire this out and reposition it so it's kind of coming out to the outer profile of the tree, give it a little bit better chance to grow and get stronger. So it's just going to have a piece of wire on it.
Would you leave the length?
The length.
That's why you leave the length.
Yeah, you want it to get stronger.
Oh, okay.
We want it to get stronger, so we're going to, leave the length on that. Coming around to this branch. Wow, this is getting pretty heavy. I'm thinking I need to take this back. This is getting really heavy, actually, but I don't want to take it all the way off just yet. I'm going to take it back to take it back to here for now. Eventually, this whole thing may come off. If it back buds in here someplace, this is already too thick. If it back buds in here, and then I can develop that, I can eventually take this big thick piece off. Okay, where are we? Don't want to cut these too short because I want to keep, I don't want to cut it back too hard because then what's left will grow stronger than I want it to. So I'm going to leave some of this out here. I'd like to cut it back a little bit farther, but I'm not going to do it just yet. That same thing here. This is a kind of an ugly piece, but I'd like to get something budding back. Got this little guy here. It's kind of going in a weird direction though. I don't know. Leave it for now. Or can I cut it off and try to get it to back bud? Maybe I'll see if I can get it to back bud. I'm going to take that chunk off there, that ugly end there. There should be some buds at the base of this, at this node. If we can get something to pop there to replace that, look a lot better. Put a little piece of wire on this guy and bring him out. Yeah, some of these little finer branches we're going to wire and reposition. So this is our problem. Let this grow way too much. Should have had some wire on this a couple of months ago before it got to be this heavy. So I'm going to try wiring it down, but actually what we're going to do is, no, we're just going to cut it off. We're going to cut it off and hope that it back buds. It's way back here under the canopy. It may, it's pretty strong, so I'm assuming that it's going to back bud at the base. So we're just going to see what happens. Hopefully it'll back bud back here at the base someplace, and then we can start developing better ramification on that.
And why don't you cut this shorter?
I can. I can cut that off. I think it should already be pretty much dead. Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's growing out there, so.
So you couldn't start grafting even if you wanted to.
You couldn't have thrown grass it even if you wanted to. No. I'm just going to leave it there because I want to leave a little bit of a stub. See what happens. Okay, so coming out on here, we don't want to cut it back too hard because we don't want it to blow out again, but we're going to cut it back a little bit. I don't want to cut that off because I want this to grow slow. I'm leaving this because I want this to grow slower. I don't want this to blow out because this is going to be what we develop this part of the branch from, or even maybe back in here if it buds back. So that's our work for now, other than putting some wire on some of these smaller branches and repositioning them. We'll do that and then take a final look at it. Okay, so we're kind of finished with our work for May. On our tridents, we've added a little wire and repositioned some of the smaller branches on this tree. So it's kind of set up for the next phase of growth and development. And I guess that's about all we have for May. And we'll see you guys in July for our junipers and our relook at the tridents. So